Good morning, my name's Kate Farrer and I'm the CEO at Brighter Super. Thank you for joining us today, especially following our decision to reschedule this event due to ex-tropical cyclone Alfred. Today I have the pleasure of introducing and moderating our International Women's Day presentation on retirement insights for women. Joining me in co-presenting the findings today are Dr. Irene Giammatteo, who's Head of Research at Investment Trends, and Jennifer McSpadden, Head of Retirement at Brighter Super. Today's presentation is the result of a partnership between Brighter Super and Investment Trends. Together, we recently launched a report on insights into Australian retirement needs, and today we're taking this one step further, breaking down the findings and specific insights for women. This research represents the longest running, biggest scale and deepest dive on Australia's retiree and pre-retiree needs. The research findings are based on a quantitative online survey conducted by Investment Trends of 5,315 Australian adults over the age of 40 and conducted in July and August last year. Today, we will also be discussing the Brighter Super Ready for Retirement Index. This index measures women's confidence in achieving their ideal retirement lifestyle, incorporating factors like the retirement readiness of pre-retirees and the confidence of retirees in funding their retirement. It also incorporates the overall suitability of super funds for retirement. We hope today's presentation sparks meaningful conversations and contributes to new ways for us to collectively engage, educate and enhance women's retirement outcomes. During today's webinar, if you'd like to enable closed captioning, the CC icon is located at the bottom of the video. We'd also like to encourage you to submit questions. You can do so by clicking on the live Q&A tab located on the right-hand side of the screen. At the end of the presentation, we'll get through as many questions as we can, and if we don't get to them all today, we will come back to you in the coming days. Before we start today's presentation, Brighter Super acknowledges the traditional owners of lands we meet on today, and we pay our respect to elders past and present. We're proud to serve Queensland's 17 Indigenous councils, and we strive to provide positive outcomes for our members who identify as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. I'd also like to let you know that this presentation contains general advice. It's been prepared without taking into account your individual objectives, financial situation or needs. You must not rely on this information alone as the sole or primary source of advice or guidance for the purpose of making decisions about your superannuation options. We're also going to be talking about performance today, and so it's important that you recognise that past performance is no guarantee of future performance. I'd like to welcome both our members and non-members joining us for today's webinar and take a moment to share a little about Brighter Super. Brighter Super is a 100% member-owned Queensland-based industry fund resulting from a merger between LGR Super, Energy Super and the acquisition of Suncorp Super. We've now grown to over $34 billion in funds under management, and we have over 280,000 members. Excluding government, we are now the fourth largest financial services business in Queensland. And this year, we're celebrating our 60th birthday of supporting members in preparing for their retirement. As part of our ongoing commitment to delivering exceptional value, in January this year we reduced administration fees for most of our members. This is the third year in a row that we've lowered administration fees, and since the completion of the mergers in 2022, Brighter Super has reduced total administration fees by 40%. So what can you expect from these fee changes? Our percentage-based administration fee has reduced from 0.18% to 0.14% of your account balance, which means that the fee for a member with $250,000 balance is now $350 per year, down from $450. The annual cap on the percentage-based administration fee has been reduced from $900 to $650. In effect, the more your balance grows, the smaller the proportion of administration fees you'll be paying. This move reflects Brighter Super's dedication to keeping fees as low as possible. We've lowered the cost met from reserves from 0.03% to 0.01%. It is important to note that this fee is not charged directly to your account since it's directed from the fund's reserves. And finally, we've introduced a partner linking feature that allows you to link your partner's eligible accounts and potentially reduce the administration fees charged to you both. The form is now available under the Resources tab on our website. Remember, you can also take advantage of our friends and family referral offer, and if eligible, you could receive a $100 voucher when you refer someone to join the fund. You can access your personal referral code and terms and conditions by logging into your account on Member Online. To support all of these changes, we've brought in a small account keeping fee of 50 cents per week per account. As your balance grows, the account keeping fee will become a smaller proportion of your total assets. As a 100% member-owned, not-for-profit fund, we only charge the fees we need to run the fund and provide services to members. So these latest administration fee reductions are part of Brighter Super's vision of being brighter together and ensuring all members benefit from our recent mergers whilst maximising your retirement saving potential. In addition to lowering our administration fees, which you can see on the screen, are well below industry median, I am proud to say we're also a top 5 industry fund nationally for the lowest MySuper fees. We've also delivered strong performance for the year ended 31 December 2024, with our flagship MySuper option delivering a return of 11.6%. And we also received double-digit returns in our balanced options, with the balanced pension option performing the second highest in its class, with a return of 16.76%. In fact, 3 Brighter Super pension options, accumulation options and 2 pension options achieved the Super Ratings top 10 rankings for the 2024 calendar year. Last year, as part of today's research with investment trends, we released the findings of retirement preparedness from both a national and a Queensland perspective. So, before I hand over to Irene, who's going to cover insights pertaining to women, I did want to highlight several interesting key findings from last year's report. So, first of all, retirement confidence dropped to a 10-year low, with 47% of pre-retirees feeling unprepared for retirement as cost of living pressures mount. The retirement income shortfall has widened. The gap between expected income and needed income for pre-retirees has grown to 31%, equating to an average shortfall of $1,300 per month. Inflation has emerged as the primary concern for pre-retirees, while health issues top the list for current retirees. Once super balance and home ownership bring retirement comfort. Building up super is critical for pre-retirees, with the survey finding a direct correlation between the size of their super balance and their preparedness for retirement. Home ownership is also critical to retirees' comfort in retirement. Information and guidance is the biggest differentiator. Amongst pre-retirees who changed investment options after seeking informational guidance, 55% felt more prepared. Only 19% of those who took no action felt prepared. If you're interested in learning more, please download both our Australian and Queensland white papers, which you can find on our website. Now I'm going to hand over to Irene to discuss women's preparedness leading into and confidence in retirement.
Yeah, so thanks very much, Kate and Brighter Super, for this partnership and support in making today's session possible. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So perhaps by way of context, I'd like to just acknowledge that despite some of the, despite the decades of progress that we've achieved, women are still falling significantly behind in terms of retirement outcomes. So what we see is that on average, women retire with around 23% less superannuation than men. And this gap stems from several factors: the gender pay gap, which currently sits at around 13%, time taken out of the workforce for caring responsibilities, and the prevalence of part-time and lower paid work, amongst other factors. At the same time, demographic shifts make this an urgent conversation. Women tend to live longer than men by an average of 4 years, and this means they actually need more savings to support that longer retirement. Yet many are entering retirement with less, So in the insights that I'm about to share, we will look at the hard facts and most importantly, discuss what can be done to help bridge these gaps and build stronger retirement outcomes for women. All right, we start with retirement confidence. And here we're going to explore how much lower it is for women than for men. The research finds that women feel much less prepared for retirement compared to men, and the figures are 22% of women feeling prepared versus 36% of men. Women also have more retirement concerns than men. All right. So we begin with a simple yet deeply relevant question, especially in today's uncertain climate. So the question is, what worries people most when they think about retirement? So what stands out is that female pre-retirees, you can see this on the left-hand side, report higher levels of concerns across nearly every category compared to their male counterparts. In particular, they are more worried about the impact of inflation, not having enough money to live comfortably, and the cost of medical treatment. So on average, women pre-retirees reported 4.9 concerns compared to 4.4 amongst men. And this underscores a higher level of anxiety about retirement readiness. So if I take you to the right-hand side, we can see that amongst retirees as well, female reported more concerns than their male counterparts, particularly uncertainty of the income that they will receive. So this already gives us a sense of the unique financial challenges that women face both leading up to and during retirement. Now here's how pre-retirees rate their own preparedness for retirement, and once again we see a very clear gender gap. The proportion of pre-retirees who feel prepared for retirement is low in absolute terms. So only 5% report that they feel very well prepared, and only 29% say that they're very well prepared or prepared. For women, that 29% figure drops to 22% feeling prepared for retirement, and this compares to 36% for men. So the sense of lower confidence again here that we see amongst women is consistent with the financial concerns and the structural challenges that we touched on earlier. Now here's an interesting insight. And the first slide so far where we see little to no gender disparity. So the data in the background is what Kate referred to earlier, which shows a very strong correlation between how prepared someone feels for retirement and their expected super balance. The inside is the overlay on the foreground, which actually shows women's results. So what the chart is saying is that when women and men anticipate having the same superannuation balance at retirement, their sense of preparedness is essentially the same. So this suggests that confidence in retirement isn't inherently gendered. It's closely tied to those financial expectations. All right. So just to finish here in this first section, if we turn to the lived experience of retirees, we find interestingly that 53% of retirees are actually saying that they're living comfortably. So this highlights a clear disconnect between the actual experience of retirement and the lower confidence levels that we see amongst pre-retirees. However, this sense of comfort, again, is not equally shared. Only 47% of retired women report living comfortably in retirement. Again, reflecting the persistent gender gap in financial security and confidence that we've been talking about. Now let us quantify a bit more that gender gap. So we'll want to look at the expected retirement income here. We've established that the shortfall is significant between men and women, and we also are finding that that shortfall is widening for women at a faster pace than for men. So the slide here on screen really encapsulates it all. It highlights the gap between the income pre-retirees expect to have in retirement and what they believe they'll need to live comfortably. So first, at the bottom of the page, we can see that more than 2 in 5 pre-retirees, or 62%, anticipate a retirement funding gap. That figure of 62% is actually 71% for women and 54% for men. So that's the first disconnect. Second, let me take you up the slide a little bit. We can see that for women, the median expected income is $2,400 per month. this is what they expect they will receive, versus the perceived income needed of $3,900. So this is what they believe they will need to live a comfortable retirement, resulting in a significant shortfall of 38%, compared to a shortfall of only 24% amongst men. And finally, and particularly concerning, I'll say, both gaps are widening faster for women than for men. So in just 1 year, the shortfall in retirement income for female increased from 31% to 38%, whereas the gap for men increased more modestly from 23% to 24%. So let us take a closer look at how people generally plan to close the retirement income gap. The findings here on screen are actually a mix of encouraging and concerning signals. So on the positive side, it's really encouraging to see that many pre-retirees recognize that boosting their super contribution is a really important strategy to help bridge the gap. So this is the second option shown on screen there. However, it is more concerning to note a decline in the proportion of people who view seeking financial advice as part of the solution. So certainly an area that deserves more attention. Let's look at this with the gender lens, and some important differences emerge. So we can see that women are more likely than men to say that they reduce spending to close the retirement income gap, which may reflect a more cautious or constrained approach to manage those shortfalls. Encouragingly, a similar proportion of women intend to increase their superannuation, showing that proactive intent. However, it does stand out that fewer women than men are planning to seek advice from a financial advisor as a solution to bridge the gap. And more actually say that they haven't thought about how they would do so. So that just reinforced the concern that we raised earlier. Now let us turn to one of the most significant findings of the research, and one that offers valuable insight into the potential solutions of the complex challenges we've been exploring so far. Information and guidance are the main contributors to retirement preparedness. We find that 55% of pre-retirees felt prepared for retirement after seeking financial advice, and almost 50% of women pre-retirees want to know how much they need to retire comfortably. Let us have a look at some of the findings here. Okay, again, we begin with the experience of retirees. So while, as we saw earlier, many report living comfortably in retirement, the path to retirement often didn't go as planned. Only about a third of retirees actually retired when they intended to, and nearly half retired earlier than planned, often due to unforeseen circumstances such as health issues, retrenchment, or challenges finding new employment. So for women, this trend is even more pronounced, with 51% saying so, leaving the workforce earlier than they planned. So this highlights the vulnerability many face in the transition to retirement, and really the importance of planning for the unexpected. Let's have a look at what retirees say in hindsight they would have done differently to better prepare for retirement. And these results are segmented by home ownership, which is a really, really important indicator of confidence as well. So across the board, we find that the most important regret is not contributing more to super, followed by not reducing spending earlier. Interestingly, those who do not own their home outright were more likely to say that they would have taken more action. So if we now kind of turn our mind to the information that triggers action. So we've kind of established that contributing to super is a really, really important action to take in terms of preparing for retirement. So the slides on screen here, if we look at the left-hand side, it shows very clearly that super funds remain the leading source of retirement-related information, particularly for women. But we're starting to see other channels like friends and family, social media, and podcasts a bit lower down the chart gaining ground. When it comes to the actions taken, right-hand side, after accessing the information, voluntary super contributions are by far the most important step, especially, albeit marginally, amongst women. followed by comparing super fund option and reviewing personal finances like, insurance cover and so on. So this shows that when women are engaged with the relevant information, they are likely to take meaningful, proactive steps, highlighting the critical role of accessible and relatable guidance in supporting better retirement outcomes. Now, the biggest differentiator, and this is another stat that Kate mentioned earlier, of retirement preparedness is acting after seeking information or guidance about retirement. So the slide here shows that 48% of those who made additional contribution felt prepared versus 29%, which was the overall metric. 55% of those who changed their investment options felt prepared as well. And we actually can compare this as well with 11% amongst those who did not seek any information at all. So information is an incredibly important enabler of retirement confidence. Now, we did ask members what are some of those key areas where they would like to receive information. And we can see here on screen that, especially for women, the top 5 needs are clear. So how much is needed to retire comfortably, how to improve retirement outcomes, how much am I likely to receive from super in retirement, a better understanding of the government age pension, and my likely super balance retirement. That top 3, across the board, female members are more likely than their male counterparts to want information in each of these areas. It's also perhaps worth pointing out further down the slide that 1 in 5 women specifically want help in identifying where to go for financial and retirement guidance. So that kind of shortfall that we saw earlier around women using financial advisors may well be due to the fact that they don't know where to go to seek such advice. So that's a really important point. And finally, we should always remember that the definition of a comfortable retirement is deeply personal, which makes it all the more vital that we listen to members and deliver relevant and actionable information that is tailored to them. And finally, just one more here, perhaps to link the need for information to the current lack of clarity and indecision that exists when it comes to accessing super. We've asked members what they plan to do when they reach preservation age, and about a third of pre-retirees are unsure what action they'll take. And as we've seen across other metrics here, women are again more likely to be uncertain, with 38% of female respondents saying that they don't know yet what to do, compared to the third that was the industry average. So this really underscores the importance of delivering timely, clear, and personalized information that helps members navigate complex choices with confidence. Now, let's bring in the Brighter Super Retirement Readiness Index. And this index distills the gender differences we've explored earlier into a single powerful metric. So we found that women aged 40 or plus have a retirement readiness index score of 50 compared to 56 for men. So a clear reflection and a clear quantification of the ongoing gap that's in retirement confidence and preparedness between the genders. Okay, just a little sort of definition here of the Brighter Super Retirement Index that was launched in November last year. This index brings together 4 key pillars to provide a holistic view of retirement confidence, giving equal weight to the experiences of retirees and that of pre-retirees. And what's striking, as you can see on the right-hand side, is the clear deficit in confidence and readiness that pre-retirees experience compared to retirees. Another key insight from the Retirement Readiness Index is the clear 5-point gap between men and women nationally. So you can see the 2 blue bars there. So women score 51 on that index, which is out of 100, compared to 56 for men. However, there is a strong positive story here as well. So we can see in the red there that female members of Brighter Super score significantly higher at 65, which is a whole 14 points above the national average. Now, to wrap up, we really wanted to unpack a bit more that disconnect, or perhaps that Brighter Super advantage. And I think it's a really strong note to end on. So Brighter Super's female members exhibit a greater than average confidence and retirement preparedness. So 29% of Brighter Super women pre-retirees feel prepared versus 22% of women nationwide. 55% of Brighter Super women pre-retirees trust their fund's ability to guide them in retirement versus 48% of women nationwide. Now let me show a picture to kind of put some of those numbers in perspective. So we can see here that Brighter Super's female members, pre-retirees members, consistently outperform national averages across all key retirement confidence and preparedness metrics. So they report a higher level of preparedness with 29 versus 22%, as we mentioned. They're also less likely to anticipate a retirement funding gap, and the figures there is 60% versus the 71% nationally. And when we look at the right-hand side, the proportion of retirees that are confident in their fund's ability to provide guidance in retirement is also higher at 55% for Brighter Super retiree female members compared to 48% nationally. So these results clearly highlight the value of tailored support and the positive impact it can have on women's retirement outlook. So just to wrap up some key themes from today's session, really reinforcing the unique challenges that women face when it comes to retirement, including lower levels of confidence, wider income shortfall, and a greater need for guidance and information. Despite this, there is a clear opportunity. When the right support is in place, women embrace it and respond positively. Brighter Super's female members, for example, report higher preparedness, greater trust in their fund, and stronger overall retirement confidence compared to the national average. So we think the path forward is clear: targeted engagement, tailored education, accessible and timely financial advice can make a meaningful difference in closing the gender gap in retirement readiness. I'll now hand over to Jen.
Thank you, Irene. I'd like to share how Brighter Super is responding to the retirement needs of Australian women to help them prepare for and enjoy a brighter retirement. We've just heard that women feel less prepared for retirement than men, that they expect to have less money in their super and they don't have enough information and guidance to help them change all of that. In particular, in celebration of International Women's Day, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be this way. As a woman preparing to retire, it can feel like the last thing you have time for. Even I feel this way, and I'm the head of retirement. But I can assure you that small steps can make a big difference, and the research shows you just coming here today can boost your confidence because you've taken a positive step. And no matter where you are on your journey, Brighter Super can help you with relevant information and guidance at a time and place that suits you. To give you some examples of how we've helped members last year, we engaged David Koch, one of Australia's most respected personal finance journalists and broadcasters. Since introducing Kochie, the average attendance at seminars has increased by 47% and a 59% increase in intention to seek financial advice. This is important because we know people who seek financial advice feel much more confident in their financial future. Maybe you're ready for financial advice. Maybe you're just looking to dip your toe in the water. If so, we also offer face-to-face and online member education events, seminars, webinars, newsletters, calculators, and super health checks to answer your questions. We also have over 40 specialist team members available to support you in building your plan to retire with confidence. For those who need a bit more evidence of how we can help, take a look at the engagement numbers on screen. And you can see that you're not alone in seeking education and advice. As you can see, those who participated in our member engagement services were very satisfied with their experience and rated us a 9.6 out of 10 satisfaction rating. And if you'd like an outside stamp of approval, I'm happy to share that our member education efforts were recognised with the 2025 Member Engagement Award from Super Ratings. But enough about that. Let me show you how we can help you today by answering some of your pre-submitted questions. We received over 80 questions, which is amazing. To save time, we've grouped them into main themes and general answers. Let's start with our most common question: how much do I need to retire? Well, this depends on a few things, like if you retire owning your own home, if you have a partner, and if you'll be eligible for the age pension, to name a few. Unfortunately, there is no one magic number, but there is your magic number. How do we find out what that is? Well, there are a couple of rules of thumb that can help. So, an important factor to consider when working out how much you may need to retire is how long could you live? Because it's not just how much you need to have saved, but how long you'll need it to last. Our research shows outliving savings is a major concern for retirees, so considering your life expectancy and planning for it can help you reduce this worry. Factors that will influence how long you will live include where you were born, your income and education level, access to healthcare, and lifestyle factors such as smoking, obesity and exercise. Perhaps the two most interesting factors are that women live longer than men, and the longer you live, the longer you are predicted to live. To explain that, I'm currently under 60 years old and can expect to live until I'm over 85 years old. But if I reach 60, my life expectancy increases by another 2 years to age 87 because I've already survived the earlier decades of my life. It's a sobering fact to realise that if I retire at 60, I need to plan for over 27 years of living off my savings, and that's almost as long as my working career. While no one knows exactly how long they'll live, planning for your savings to last until life expectancy is a good rule of thumb. Another thing to consider when working out how much you may need to retire is your lifestyle goals. A good rule of thumb here is that what the Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia, also known as ASFA, suggests you'll need to have saved based on two types of lifestyle targets, modest or comfortable. Their figures assume you own your own home outright and that you're relatively healthy. To achieve a modest lifestyle, they suggest a single person will need $631 a week. For a couple, they suggest $909 a week. This amounts to a bit more than the age pension, and it will let you afford a basic health insurance and occasional social activities with family and friends like having a takeaway meal or going to a cafe. However, it's unlikely to cover the cost of overseas travel, so travel would need to be closer to home. So what does the ASFA standards say that a comfortable lifestyle could look like? Comfortable includes daily essentials like groceries, transport and home repairs, plus private health insurance, social activities and occasional restaurant meals. It also allows you to stay connected with family and friends through technology, take an annual domestic trip and an international trip every 7 years. To afford a comfortable lifestyle, ASFA estimate that you will need, as a single person, $993 a week, while a couple will need $1,399 a week. So what might your account balance need to look like to achieve either of these lifestyles? As a single person, you would likely need to have saved $200,000 for a modest retirement or $502,000 for a comfortable retirement. Meanwhile, a couple may need to have saved $283,000 for a modest retirement or $660,000 for a comfortable retirement. It's important to note these figures were calculated as at Q1 2025, assuming a 2.5% inflation. If the actual inflation rate exceeds this amount, these figures may understate the amount required to maintain a certain lifestyle during retirement. And these figures once again assume you own your own home outright and that you're relatively healthy. And they also include some age pension considerations. If you would like to know your own magic number for how much you may need to retire, I recommend you use our popular retirement income calculator at brightersuper.com.au under the Resources tab. It's a great tool to estimate your potential income and see how small changes can improve your retirement. We also have a new What Age Can I Retire calculator on our website, which helps you understand what age you can afford to retire based on your current circumstances. It saves your results for future reference, and you can explore options like saving more, working longer, or investing differently. We understand that sometimes it's nice to talk to someone, so if that's your preference, why not consider our retirement health check? This is an appointment with one of our financial advisors and can be used as a starting point for retirement planning. It's best suited to those closer to retirement, and it can confirm if you're on track or give you early notice if changes are needed. The retirement health check costs $330, which can be deducted from your super balance and covers you and your partner. No matter what your age or your stage, if you have general questions about your super, you can also book a super health check, which will give you a basic overview of your super and how it works at no additional cost, as it's included in your membership. For specific advice on how to grow your super, including making additional contributions, insurance and your investment options, our intra-fund advice team can help, also at no additional cost. For those who are ready to retire and want to set up a retirement account that's right for your needs, we can also offer scaled advice. But if you're looking for a holistic approach to retirement planning, ask us about our comprehensive advice. Part of the cost of this advice can be deducted from your super balance. And you can find out more about all of these options at brightersuper.com.au when you have a chance to consider which advice option suits you best. Reach out to one of us for more information. You can also leave your details on the online feedback form that will appear on your screen at the end of today's webinar if you'd like someone to contact you. Before today's session, many people asked, how can I invest my super when I retire? Looking deeper into the research that was presented earlier, it's little wonder you asked for this when our research shows that 2/3 of retirees are not sure if their fund offers products that cater for their needs. And many of those who do know, only 56% of retirees nationwide are satisfied with the retirement product options provided by super funds. The top 3 reasons why retirees are not using their fund's retirement products are due to complexities, insufficient information or guidance, which I've touched on earlier, and concerns with product performance. At Brighter Super, we are reducing complexity through our range of simple account-based pensions. For those who've asked, an account-based pension is a way for those over age 60 who have permanently stopped working or changed jobs to invest their savings while also enjoying tax-free pension payments and investment earnings, as well as having the ability to withdraw all or part of your savings at any time. A product I'd like to call out is our Retire Easy pension, because this proposition really is easy. All members have to do is tick a box on our pension application form and they automatically get paid the minimum pension payment amount each month in accordance with government legislation. Minimum pension payment amounts are set in accordance with your age and account balance, and you can find out more at brightersuper.com.au. In Retire Easy, your savings are automatically invested, so you always have the equivalent of 2 years of minimum pension payments in cash, while the rest of your money is invested 50% in growth and 50% in balanced. This means you have cash on hand to pay your immediate bills and expenses while simultaneously investing your money so that it continues to grow over time. Retirees can opt in or opt out of this option and invest in our standard pension option, where they can tailor their own payment and investments at any time. And for those concerned with investment performance, I'd like to draw your attention to our recent returns for our pension options that have delivered double-digit returns and above the industry average for the 2024 calendar year. For those with eagle eyes, you'll notice pension returns are always higher, and this is because they are tax-free. Prior to today, many of you have asked us to explain how pensions work, if you can get income from super while working part-time, if you can be paid a lump sum or get a regular income, and how to open a pension account up. If you're working towards retirement and live in Brisbane and Rockhampton, we invite you to our upcoming seminars. And we're thrilled that retirement advocate David Kosh, also known as Koshy, will be joining us at these events. Supersize Your Super on 15 May in Brisbane City is perfect for those 10 to 15 years from retirement and planning your brighter retirement on the 15th of May in North Brisbane. 29th of July in Redland and 30 July in Ipswich is ideal for those planning to retire in the next 10 years. We're also visiting Rockhampton to present these same topics on May 7 and 8. If you're interested and would like to meet Koshy, register at brightersuper.com.au or scan the QR code on the screen. We'll be adding new locations and dates to this webpage, so please check regularly. Finally, it's pleasing to note that in addition to winning the Super Review Member Education of the Year Award in 2024 highlighted earlier, we also won CanStar's 2024 Outstanding Value Award for Account-Based Pension. We're proud of other recent accolades, including Super Ratings Platinum rating, the highest possible for our accumulation pension products and My Super Investment Option, and Best Growth Pension Product Award, and Best Cash Super Product 2025 from Money Magazine. I'll now hand back to Kate.
Thank you so much, Irene and Jen. That was incredibly interesting. I'm really proud of the work that the Brighter Super team has done to lead the way in empowering our members with support, advice, products and tools to help build their retirement confidence. Through stronger education, access to financial advice and targeted support, we can make sure that every woman is equipped to face retirement with clarity and certainty. So we're now going to move to question time, and I am hoping that I can see some questions coming through. I'll just change this over. I can now see some questions coming through. As I said earlier, if you'd like to submit a question, please do so by clicking on the live Q&A tab located on the right-hand side of the screen. I will say, and I think you heard earlier, that we received a lot of pre-submitted questions for today's webinar, which we tried to incorporate into the presentation where possible. But importantly, if we don't get to your question or to all of those from the live Q&A, we will commit to coming back to you with the answers in coming days. To kick things off, we're going to start with a pre-submitted question, which I'm going to direct to Jen. So Jen, what are the advantages of opening a pension account, and is there a minimum amount that you have to draw down each year?
A pension account is a really fantastic way to actually use your superannuation savings when you are in retirement, and that's because the investment earnings that you get on your savings are tax-free. Any withdrawals you make are tax-free. And you also can basically flexibly choose how you'd like to invest your pension as well. So one of the things about an account-based pension is that there is a minimum drawdown amount that you do need to take each year, and that does depend on your age. It starts at 4%, up to 14% at age 95. But I do encourage you to go to our website and have a look at our product disclosure statement, which talks about our account-based pension, and that will give you all the information about what it takes to invest in one, how to set one up.
Thank you so much. Now, a question I think for Irene from Esther. For women, why has the gap between perceived and expected income widened?
Yeah, I think that's a really excellent question. Thank you. So what we are seeing, as I mentioned earlier, is a widening of the gap by 7 percentage points in terms of the shortfall for women versus only 1 percentage point for men in the past reporting period. Some of the reasons some of the reasons behind that widening can be drawn from looking at the things that women are more concerned about. And what we see is really around inflation, concerns about meeting the cost of medical treatment and so on. So we see that because there's already a sort of structural gender pay gap between women and men, the sort of cost of living crisis that we are going through is really affecting men to a much more significant degree than it is touching. It's really affecting women, I should say, to a more significant degree that it is touching men. And so women are reacting to those pressures by, that sort of recalibration of their confidence. And so it's crucially important to be able to ensure that women know where to turn to seek the information and education that they need to, weather the current crisis, and also perhaps how they can make sure that if they have lower income, that they can still maintain their contribution to super steady during that this period of crisis. So I would pin that down to the structural disconnect, Kate, that we see in terms of the gender pay gap in particular, and also some of the things that we've seen around the shortfall on using a financial advisor and actually getting the guidance that they need to feel more confident.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Thank you for that. Actually, I think I'll build on that one for the next question to Jen, and that is all about advice. Please, this is from Sharon, please repeat the options that we have for available advice with Brighter Super one more time. It's so important for people to know what they can access with us.
There are quite a few options that are available, and I do recommend that you have a look at our website where all the options are detailed. It does range from really simple advice where you can, a lot of it is paid for directly out of your account if that's needed. We have people that you can contact at our contact centre that can often handle the most simple questions straight away for you. But if you do have more complex needs, there are various things that you can do. So, for instance, if you needed advice on investing, we can help you with that. If you needed advice on contributions, we can help you with that. But also if you're looking for more holistic advice, thinking about your entire superannuation, including insurance, that sort of thing, then that's also something we can help you with. So again, I do encourage you to go to our website and have a look. That'll be the best way to sort through what your needs are and how we can meet them.
Thanks very much, Jen. And yes, I can certainly say that we spend a lot of time talking about and thinking about the types of advice options that are going to work for you. Another one for you, Irene, and this comes from Esther. So she said that was great information, which I certainly agree with. She says, I'm 10 years away from retirement. What is the most important insight that she should take away from your presentation?
Oh, that's really hard. It's hard to boil down, so many great insights into one. But I would say it's really around information and education. It's crucially important to educate yourself about the options that are available to you, looking at your personal situation. So as, Jen really eloquently said, retirement, I guess being comfortable in retirement is a very personal definition for every single one of us. And I think in that third part, we really hone in on the information that people tend to need, which was, how much do you need for retirement and, how can you improve your retirement outcome? A lot of it that was already answered. But I think the most important thing is to really be able to define what that comfortable retirement lifestyle looks like for you and to prepare yourself to meet it, which would mean getting advice that is personal to you. So, you can do that by going to see a financial advisor, as we mentioned earlier, or perhaps using some of the Brighter Super retirement calculator tools. But it's really important to have that definition that is very personal. I don't know if, Jen, you want to add to that? Yeah.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for the question.
Very great. Okay. Another one for you, Jen. Can I have a pension and accumulation account at the same time?
Yes, you can. And you might decide to do that for multiple reasons. I think a common reason that people like to do that is that they can invest part of their savings into a transition to retirement account, which can mean that you can be drawing a regular income, which is quite tax effective, while also still contributing to your super. That's great if you are working part-time, and often useful for women who are thinking, do I want to retire, do I want to keep working? It gives you lots of different options. So yes, you can definitely have both.
Fantastic, and in fact very many of our members do, because it's all about you, it's your retirement, it's your money, and it's really important that you know how you can and want to use it. I'm going to take the next question in a bit of departure from protocol, I have to say. Really good question. So I've noticed my super balance has dropped $20,000 over the past 2 months while I'm still putting in weekly contributions. Can you explain what is currently causing this and what individuals could do to try and ensure their balance continues to grow? That is a fantastic question, and a question that certainly I get asked every time I go and talk to members, and I know our team is also being asked it constantly. So, the world at the moment is volatile. The new administration in the United States has obviously changed up the way people see markets and what people are expecting. And we have seen a pullback in equity markets around the world, and that is certainly something that you see when you call out the fact that your super balance has dropped. The important thing to understand here is that superannuation is a long-term game, and that you need to stay the course. This is what we say to everybody, that staying the course is the most important thing. It's fantastic that you're still contributing through this period. What is important is that you set aside your concerns about the volatility and the balance now, because we experience one of these pullbacks, I think once on average every 7 years. They happen often. And, it's important to understand that, because through your whole life, both your working life and your retired life, you're going to have many, many more of these pullbacks in markets. But what we also see is returns. The equity market continues to come back again. after a period of time. Sometimes it's a very short bounce back, sometimes it is a little bit longer. But certainly, when we look at our history of equity markets in Australia and around the world, you can see that they do continue to grow over time. So the important thing is to stay the course. If you're really, really concerned and you feel that your investment option is just not meeting the needs, then you can certainly give our contact centre a call and we can put you through to someone to talk to you about what your real risk appetite is with respect to your investment options. So do you want to continue to be in equity markets or not? However, what we have observed is that when members switch out of equity, of balanced option, say, or a MySuper option, into a cash option, it is so easy for members to miss the bounce back. And when you consider that out of your retirement savings, the things that fund you in retirement, 1/3 of it comes from earnings, even in the pension stage, and 1/3 of it comes from earnings in the pre-pension stage, it is very important to know that you have the capability and are taking enough risk to continue those earnings over your life. So I know it's a very uncomfortable time to be in, and certainly I do look at my own superannuation balance. It's a challenging point for anyone who's in superannuation. It's a challenging point for anyone who is on a fixed income, and it's challenging for anyone who's coming up into retirement. So you're part of a community of people who notice this. The most important thing to do is to continue your contributions. It's a long-term game. Keep on. What we have to do is to just know that over time, equity markets recover, and that staying the course is the thing that matters. Okay, I have one for Jen here. What options do you have in transition to retirement, and how old do you need to be for this?
So if you are transitioning to retirement, is that the question, or...?
It says, what options do you have in transition to retirement?
Okay, yes.
So, and how old do you need to be for
it? So when you're thinking about transitioning to retirement, and we covered this earlier, you might decide you want to work part-time and you would like to perhaps draw down on some of your savings to really, I suppose, balance the fact out that you are working part-time. We do have a transition to retirement pension product which you can open. It doesn't necessarily offer the same tax advantages of when you have retired, but you can take that out from age 55. And so that is something to look at if that's of interest to you. I know that we can certainly help you out by talking to you about that if, again, you contact our contact centre, but also, once again, we've got a lot of information on our website that can help you understand a little bit more about how that product works. And I think that's going to be of interest certainly to people, again, who would like to start to work part-time. But I wouldn't mind also just adding a little bit to that first question that Kate just spoke about, because people who are in retirement also may be feeling the pinch about what's going on in markets. And I'd like to highlight once again that our actual Retire Easy pension is really good for someone who's a bit nervous in that pension phase, because it sets you up so that you've always got 2 years of minimum pension payments in cash that will cover your immediate expenses during volatile times, but it then parks the rest of your savings into investments that will allow your funds to keep growing, taking advantage of what Kate was talking about, that you're still in a long-term type of investment even though you have retired. So I think that's an option for people who are in pension phase who are worried about what's going on in the markets as well.
Thank you very much, Jen. Fantastic. Now, I'm actually going to ask a question of both of you. The question is, I noticed that the assumption of home ownership is important when talking about the retirement funding that's needed. Would there be any strategies for non-homeowners? So I'd like, Irene, if you wouldn't mind just talking about home ownership in the data, and then perhaps, Jen, you could talk a little bit about strategies for non-homeowners.
Yeah, so just to go back to that hindsight reflection look that we ask members to do. So for the specific question was, in hindsight, what would you have done differently if you had to do it again? And the most cited option was around contributing more to super. So the overlay on the foreground of that chart was specifically looking at their home ownership status. And we did see that those members who were still renting their home or who were still paying a mortgage actually had more things that they could have done differently in hindsight. So they have more regrets on average. So what that means specifically is, having home ownership, or if you will, shelter, is a really important pillar of retirement confidence. In fact, we sort of think about it as three pillars. We have shelter, we have health, and then the other one is also advice, which we kind of spoke about at length today. So home ownership significantly affects how people will feel in retirement. I just want to touch on concerns as well. So we looked at the concerns of pre-retirees and retirees. So this was kind of our opening slide. And there you see that people are really feeling the pinch of inflation, cost of living. Those pre-retirees who do not own their home yet are particularly feeling concerned about inflation, the rising cost of living, and being able to afford a little more than extras. So home ownership is a significant contributor to feeling more confident in retirement. Now, perhaps the next logical question may be, should I draw from my super to buy a home? And I think that's really a tricky exercise, and that probably should be one for Jen to address.
Yeah, I suppose if you don't own your own home, and certainly if you're approaching retirement and you've still got a mortgage, as Irene said, that can be something that people are tempted to ultimately take the money out and pay that mortgage off. And I do think that is really an important thing that you need to balance, and that's where I would definitely say it's vital to go and speak to a financial advisor who can take into account all of your financial situation and advise you on the best way forward. Do you pay off a mortgage? Do you continue to contribute to super? These are all things that are personal to you, and a qualified financial advisor can really assist you with that.
Thank you very much. So I think we have maybe time for one more question. Again, for both of you. Irene, the question is around young women. What should young women be thinking about to prepare for their retirement? So, Irene, perhaps you can just talk about what you saw in the data with younger women, because I know you've done so much work on the demographics, the ages, and then perhaps you can just give us a comment, Jen, about what they might think about.
Yeah. So what we're actually seeing across our broad body of work is that women and younger women are really taking financial matters in their own hands, are vastly more likely to do so now than the previous generation. So that's really pleasing to see. So we see, for example, women being more sort of involved in things like, investing in ETFs and, kind of listening to their friends and family and so on, and actually proactively looking for information. So what should young women do? So young women are, likely going to face the same structural challenges that we had in previous generations as well, which is, taking time off when we are, having babies, or when we take a career leave to care for elderly and so on. Just looking at the data that we explored today, the number one regret is contributing more to super. So it is really important not to pause during that period of time, even if we're not receiving income, as in, income to live on a daily basis. It's really important to keep that super balance growing. And so I would say kind of my number one advice to young women is, if you're taking a career break or kind of pausing your work life for one reason or another, it's really important to keep those superannuation contribution going.
Yeah, and I suppose there are a couple of ways that you can contribute more to super. So you can, if your employer agrees, do what we call a salary sacrifice. So that means putting a portion of your pre-tax salary and contributing that into superannuation. Or you might decide that you want to take some savings from your bank account and put that into superannuation. So there's a couple of options there that you can consider. Also, I think it's important for someone who is young to think about the insurance cover that they have, particularly if they've got a young family. This is something that you will get as part of your membership in the super fund. There's a default level of cover, we call it default cover. I do encourage you to log on and have a look at what the amount of cover that you have. Decide if that's going to be enough to cover you should you become injured or unfortunately be in an accident and pass away. And we do have people that can help you work through what would be the right amount of cover for you so that you're covered. So that if you do have a partner, for instance, or you've got children, that you can leave something to either support them or yourself should the worst happen. So I think that's something else that younger people, really anyone, but younger people should also think about.
All right, well, thank you so much for your questions and for your time today. We value your feedback and would appreciate if you could complete our feedback survey from today's webinar. At the conclusion of the webinar, the survey is going to pop up on your screen within 30 seconds. That will also include the opportunity to leave your details should you wish to be contacted by a member of the team. If you submitted a question that we didn't get to today, one of our team will reach out to you as soon as possible. So we really hope that today's overview sparks meaningful conversations and contributes to new ways for us to collectively engage, educate and enhance women's retirement outcomes. If the national and Queensland white papers we discussed today were of interest to you, we encourage you to download these from our websites. I would like to take a moment to thank Irene and Jen for your presentations today, and thank you to everyone in the audience again for joining us online. Have a wonderful afternoon.